October 1942. We call them the Nachthexen, the night witches. We cannot sleep. They come like ghosts, cutting their engines to glide silently over our heads. And then, the bombs fall. That sound, that frail, sputtering engine, it was the sound of terror for the German army on the Eastern Front. But for the young women flying those planes, it was the sound of a nation's defiance. This is the story of the 588th Night Bomber Regiment of the Soviet Air Force. But history knows them by another name, given to them by their enemies, the Night Witches. In a war defined by steel behemoths and technological leaps, these pilots flew into combat in flimsy, fabric-covered biplanes from the 1920s. They had no radios, no armor, no guns, and no parachutes. Their only weapons were darkness, silence, and sheer, breathtaking courage. They were the first female military pilots to be commissioned in the modern era, and they flew one of the most dangerous missions of the entire Second World War. This is their story. Welcome to Top Tier TV. To understand the legend, you have to understand the machine. The Polikarpov Po-2 was not built for war. It was a crop duster, trainer aircraft made of plywood and canvas, held together with wire and hope. Its top speed was slower than a modern car on a highway. It was so flimsy that it could be torn apart by a strong storm, let alone enemy fire. But this fragility was its greatest strength. It was too slow and flew too low for German radar to track effectively. Its wooden construction made it almost invisible to infrared spotting, and its biplane design gave it an incredible agility that faster, heavier German fighters like the Messerschmitt Bf 109 simply couldn't match. Trying to shoot down a Po-2 was like trying to swat a mosquito with a sledgehammer. And then there were the pilots. Marina Raskova, the Soviet Amelia Earhart, petitioned Stalin himself to create all-female combat regiments. Thousands of young women, students, factory workers, secretaries, answered the call. They were given a fraction of the training their male counterparts received, but they were driven by a ferocious patriotism, having witnessed the brutal German advance into their homeland. Their mission was simple, brutal, and relentless. As darkness fell, the Night Witches would take off. They'd fly in formations of 3. The lead plane would act as the bait, drawing the attention of German searchlights and flak guns. Once the deadly cones of light were fixed on the first plane, the other 2 would slip into the darkness, cut their engines, and glide silently to their target. Imagine that, gliding in complete silence. The only sound, the wind whistling through the wires of your wings. You're a sitting duck. You have no power to maneuver. Below you, the entire German army is waiting, listening. The tension inside that cockpit must have been unbearable. They would release their bombs by hand over German supply depots, artillery positions, and troop encampments. The goal wasn't to wipe out entire divisions, it was to terrorize, to deprive the enemy of sleep, of morale, of any sense of safety. A single bomb landing in a barracks or a command tent could cause chaos far disproportionate to its size. After dropping their payload, the pilot would restart the engine, a loud, coughing sputter that immediately drew a hailstorm of fire. And then they'd throw their tiny plane into a violent, evasive dive, skimming the treetops to escape. They would do this not once, but up to 18 times. A single night. The dangers were unimaginable. A single bullet in the wrong place could turn their aircraft into a funeral pyre. With no parachutes, a hit was almost always a death sentence. They faced not only enemy fighters and flak, but also freezing temperatures, exhaustion, and the constant grinding fear of the night. Yet they flew. Over the course of the war, the Night Witches flew more than 30,000 missions. They dropped over 23,000 tons of bombs. 23 of their pilots were awarded the Hero of the Soviet Union, the nation's highest honor. Their impact was psychological as much as it was tactical. The constant, nightly harassment wore the German army down to a nub. The legend of the silent, ghostly bombers who could not be stopped became a powerful tool of war in itself. They were so feared that any German soldier who shot one down was automatically awarded the Iron Cross. These young women, flying their wooden death traps, became one of the most decorated units in the Soviet Air Force. They proved that courage and ingenuity could overcome overwhelming technological and numerical odds. They were heroes, not because they were invincible, but because they were profoundly, humanly vulnerable, and they flew anyway. The story of the Night Witches is more than a thrilling war story. It's a testament to the unbreakable will of people defending their home. It's a story that redefines our idea of strength, proving that true power isn't always about having the biggest gun or the fastest plane. Sometimes, it's about having the courage to fly into the darkness, night after night, in a plane made of wood and canvas, and become a legend. If you believe these stories of incredible courage deserve to be remembered, do us a huge favor and hit that like button and subscribe to Top Tier TV. We are dedicated to honoring the stories history shouldn't forget, and we want to hear from you in the comments. What other lesser-known units or stories from WWII fascinate you the most? Let's get a conversation going. Thanks for watching. Until next time on Top Tier TV.